2024 is honestly such a weird year to cover because musically and just in general, when it comes to the quality of the contest, this was one of the best editions in recent memory, and I'd argue one of the best of all time. The music in this edition, crazy. I think like 20 of these songs would have just fully dog walked any other edition of the contest. And I'm saying that being fully serious about it. But then again, it's very difficult to focus on how many good songs came from this edition or incredible artists we got to see for the first time, because the entire edition was overshadowed by the big cloud that was, well, actually not one cloud, two clouds that were Joost Klein, Disqualification, and Israel. And that leaves such a sour taste in my mouth, really. But I think revisiting the edition might help a little to maybe soften my idea of it. Let's hope so. Hello, my name is Freyr. I'm your favorite local forest gremlin, a Polish sociology student, and a pop culture enthusiast, and welcome to my little corner of the internet where I discuss all forms of popular media that interest me, whether that's albums by popular artists, the Eurovision Song Contest, or different TV shows I'm obsessed with. We cover it all over here. And this video feels a little monumental for me because it's kind of like an end of a mini series that I've been doing. I've been revisiting different Eurovision editions. For the last couple of months, I visited one per month, and this is the last of the 2020s that we have to do. So I think it's a great addition to wrap things up with, because I'm not going to be doing revisits probably for some time now, because we have the new national final season approaching, and I also have other projects that I want to focus on to talk about some of the more current stuff with Eurovision, or just in general current stuff when it comes to pop culture. So this feels like a closer to like a little mini series, I would say, and I'm very happy that I've made it this far and that you guys have actually watched these videos. That always brings such a smile on my face. 2024 to me is such a weird edition, like in my memory, because that was the first time I ever went viral on the internet. Well, I don't know if I would call it like viral, but again, the views were fucking insane because I was a small little TikTok person sitting in my room and I filmed a ranking of some of my songs. Mind you, that ranking wasn't even fully complete because it was like 26 out of 37 songs or something like that. And that video currently sits at 1.9 million views. So you can imagine, for little Freyr 2 years ago, that was fucking insane. And I had like barely over 1K followers on TikTok. I was practically nobody. And suddenly I do a video ranking some random Eurovision songs, not even a complete ranking. And that video not only does these views, but also garnered me attention from several artists from the Eurovision Song Contest, that being Nemo, who liked that video, Sylvester Belt, who commented on it, and also was kind of telling me that I should put Nemo higher in the comment section. And then very randomly, Luke Black decided to repost it to his stories. Okay, but low-key, like looking back at that video, I'm so like stumped that that was the one that did so well, because the quality of it is insane. I look chopped, and yeah, don't go back and rewatch it because the ranking also is a little... Yeah, I could have done better. But overall, that was one of the main things that I remember about the contest, just being like, what the fuck is going on? And that was one of the moments where I was like, hey, maybe I should actually get myself out there on the internet. Maybe I should actually start making some content. Maybe people are gonna enjoy it. And so far, some people have, and that has made me feel very nice. It's such a good feeling. So yeah, it's kind of crazy for me to talk about this edition in a way, but also like the level of artistry in this specific contest was just crazy. Typically, I have like 10 songs that I have in my top 10, and those are the 10, right? Like last year, for example, I practically, my top 10 was the same the whole way through. And those are the songs that I cherish the most from the contest. With this edition though, I have like 20 something songs that I would like to stick in my top 10, but I just can't because it's not mathematically possible. So yeah, when it comes to like the ranking of these entries, I don't really think it matters as much because so many of these songs are just fucking phenomenal. And if you see one of your favorites land in like the late teens or like the early 20s, that doesn't mean I hate it. I actually would say that my like really, really hated songs start from like maybe here, 27th onward. I already want to like apologize to some people because some of these songs are fan favorites, and I know I'm gonna trash them in the minds of those people who like them. I am not trashing them. I really, really like them. There's no room for me to put them in. You might also notice that when I'm gonna be playing you the clips of the entries, the last one is Iceland, and it's gonna be marked as 36th place, not 37th. That is because Joost Klein's disqualification makes it so that he technically didn't place, so he doesn't have a placement. Of course, we're gonna talk about Europapa, like we could not do this video without talking about it, but just bear that in mind that he technically doesn't have a placement, so he's just gonna be covered after all of the NQs are done. And I am also gonna remind you that I do not rank Azerbaijan and Israel, so those last two numbers that I wrote on the board are actually kind of unnecessary, and I'm gonna wipe them now. So yeah, with that apology and a disclaimer to all the people who I'm probably gonna offend with this ranking, I would just like to quickly remind you to please subscribe to my channel. You can like the video, you can comment down below, you can share it around with your friends, and you can also follow me on all of my other socials, which include TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and those are going to be listed in the description box below. Also, apparently there is like a hype button on videos now that you can press and the videos like get promoted or something. So like if you see it, click it. I don't really know if it actually has any effect of the videos, but apparently it's cool. So if you can click it, honestly, listen, I'd appreciate it. And yeah, with that being said, I think we should start talking about one of the most controversial editions of the contest to ever be, but also one of the best editions of the contest when it comes to the music. Although we're not gonna be starting this video with one of the best songs ever, because those typically place higher than 36th, and that was Iceland. I love Hera Björk to death. Like, genuinely, she is mother. We love her, right? Like, I love the kind of wine mom energy that she brings. It's just something about her just makes me feel very like comfortable and very like nice. You know, she has the energy that she would like take good care of you. You know, she would make you tea. She would talk with you. You would sit by the fireplace with her and talk with her about like life or like favorite books or something. But this song is just so not it. I mean, it deserved to finish last, and it did. This was one of those like kind of phoned in entries, I would say, because nothing really makes sense about it. The song itself feels incredibly dated. It feels like something that would be destined to lose a national final. This feels like something that would like place last in a Melody Festival and Heat to me. But somehow it did win a national selection, despite the fact that there was a much better song competing against it. Actually, two better songs, because Siga Olsk and Bashar Murad were all in Songvakeppnin that year. And somehow Hera won. Good for her, I guess. One thing I do appreciate about this entry is the meme that it created. You know, this was kind of the continuation of the Beba kind of meme thing, where like every year there is one meme entry. Actually, I don't know if there was one this year. I struggle to think of one, really. I mean, technically Dobrodošli was kind of memed on for that Charlie XCX remix somebody did, which unironically goes hype as hell. But 2024 and 2023 certainly had memes. First being Beba, and now every single time this shows up, I'm like, yeah, this is funny. This is really funny. Even though the fandom has like run this joke to the death and back, but honestly, I still kind of enjoy it. And some people have done crazy shit with it. So like, props to you. I love a good laugh. Her vocals are fine. I don't think that's where like the complaint happens. I think the main problem here is the song, because it genuinely, this is the final boss of the traveling agency ads. background music. Like this is what that sounds like to me. Like Wild Youth Could Never. I also do not understand why she has cowboys projected on the LA. Like why is that like I kind of like the gold like fringe jumpsuit that she's wearing. It kind of makes sense with the song, but the entire thing just does not correlate together, in my opinion. They just kind of did what they did, and they're like, okay, you know what, just go out there, perform once, we're not making it to the final, so just go, just have fun. And that's kind of what Hera Björk did, and she's mother for that. I do, however, think it's very sad that now most people remember her for this song and not for the absolute banger that she brought when she participated last time in Eurovision, which was, of course, Je ne sais quoi, which is unironically one of my favorite Eurovision songs ever. Like, that song is so good, and I would have loved to have seen a more, like, mature version of Je ne sais quoi, or, like, an aged up version of it, a more modern twist on it, but it just didn't happen. And yeah, I kind of feel like it's a wasted opportunity. But listen, having Hera back was a treat. She's always very fun to have around. Iceland places 33rd in my ranking.
State your name and your media house.
See, good thing that I am not ranking Azerbaijan, because there's not really much to rank here. As I mentioned prior when I talked about their entry from 2023, at this point, their brand in the contest is sending the snooze fest of the year. And I mean, this is the perfect example. I have no idea how this song sounds. And I've listened to it a couple times in preparation for the contest, but also now making this video. I re-listened back to it. I still don't know how it sounds. Like I listen to it and I immediately forget what it is. I also just find that the performance of it was really odd. Like the crunchy visuals with that like human, I think it was human thing that like they had on the LEDs that looked like it was done in 10 minutes in Blender and then just, put on the stage. Like, I don't really understand that. I don't understand the giant fucking hands they had. Like, they tried to make something out of this, but there's nothing to make out of this when the source material is just boring as hell. I think that's ultimately the problem here. Low-key, I talked about Iceland for like 5 minutes straight, I feel like, because there's just so much funny stuff to explore with Hera Björk. This one I am wrapping up quickly because there's just nothing to talk about with this entry. Genuinely, what is there to discuss? The mid vocals, the mid performance, the very bad staging, like there's nothing more I can add to the conversation. This just exists. It happened and then everybody collectively forgot about it. That's kind of what this entry is. So yeah, let's just move on. Oh my God. We go from an absolute snooze fest to the epitome of the word mother, because Sara Bonici, representing Malta, is up next. And she was robbed. I can understand the non-qualification here because the vocals weren't that clean. I feel like some parts of the performance are a little bit messy, but like, come on. 34th is a very harsh placing for it. And I don't see the vision for that. And frankly, fun fact, this entire time I thought that she placed last, just like last altogether. She placed last in her semifinal, but not last like altogether. And this whole time I was convinced that Malta was the 36th place from 2024 until I checked for this video and I was like, oh my God, wait, hold on. What do you mean Malta is not? Oh, because in my mind, for some reason, I coded this non-qualification as like a massive robbery where Europe placed her last when she shouldn't have. And like she did kind of place last because the semifinal, but not last altogether. So that's a little better. Either way, still robbed. This should have been way higher in the semifinal. I think it's such a hype way to open up a semi. And I don't feel like Europe appreciated her enough. And that just kind of makes me sad. Like, this is at least exciting. There's something to watch. And there are several songs that placed above it in the leaderboard that I just find so, like, underwhelming when compared to that. Like, here she is giving you a show and you're watching it. You are tuned in, you're sat for the Sara Bonici show. The rest of them you can say that about. Like, the rest of them were my smoke breaks. and I don't even smoke. And also when you have this like fully just gravity defying choreo in places, like yes, the vocals are gonna sound bad in places. But also like she's not the only one that had that problem. And there are entries that qualified to the final that had that problem, namely Clean. But we're gonna get there. Also, now that I said that, I kind of think of that RuPaul's Drag Race season 10 spoiler, which this is, I think this is a pretty niche reference, but there was that spoiler where apparently Aquaria and the Vixen were in the bottom together, and Aquaria danced naked on the judges panel and the Vixen performed gravity defying moves or something. And it's kind of like one of those memes that goes around the fandom of Drag Race. And now I can't stop thinking about it. Loop is a banger. The song is good. I kind of like the production of it. I like the hook of it. I think it's very, very catchy. Yeah, it is kind of like slow-mo-esque, but that's to be expected after Chanel's participation. Like, I wasn't really surprised about that. And I also wasn't like offended by it the way some people were, because some people were fucking angry about this song's existence because, oh my gosh, she's copying Chanel. Chanel didn't invent girl bobs. She made them unpopular, yes, but she didn't invent them. That title goes to Hurricane from Serbia in 2021, but that's a different discussion. When it comes to the actual performance, I don't know about some of the parts because the dance break specifically is where I'm like, I don't know, because I am not a fan of how the music practically cuts off for certain parts of it. Some of the moves also seem a little erratic to me, and it's just, I feel like there was a way to execute it a little bit better and just keep the music flowing. Like, it kind of feels like it wasn't planned in places. It just, like, she's just improvising choreo, and it just doesn't really stick with me. But altogether, the performance is very impressive. That fucking backflip that she does with the dancers, fully blindfolded, mind you, girl, my ass would have been on the floor. Actually, no, I would not have been on the floor. I would have been carried out on a stretcher straight to the ER because I would have like bones sticking out of all of my like broken limbs by attempting to do that. Like, she is crazy for that. That's courage. Malta places 17th in my ranking. And low-key, this is another year in a row where I kind of think Malta got screwed over because I thought the same about their 2023 entry, but you will have to watch my 2023 revisit in order to know that. So go and watch that afterwards if you haven't already. Or rewatch it. You're allowed to do that too. Girl, this YouTuber shit is kind of hard.
So let's kick it off and talk about the styling. We have none.
Listen, I kind of like Bessa. I find her funny. I think she's like unintentionally a comedy queen. Although her usage of AI kind of scares me. Not gonna lie. This song though, it pisses me off because there's so much potential. Like, the revamp of it just strips it out of every ounce of personality it had in Fic. And that Albanian version is still so superior to this. It just feels so empty and plastic almost when compared to Zemrendor. It doesn't have that same grasp. And also, I think part of it is the Albanian. Translating a song from Albanian to English for Eurovision to me feels like such a cardinal sin. Like, you should never do this. Because then it loses all the personality that it previously had. And it just becomes another one of those like English slop songs that don't really do much, don't really mean a whole lot, that just kind of fade into the background post-contest. If this was in Albanian, this would have had a genuine chance of qualifying, and I stand by that. The actual production of Titan, I can get behind. I think there's a world in which it would have worked if it was in Albanian. I genuinely think that the production would have amplified the effect of Zemrendor if the lyrics were kept the same or like slightly reworked, but just like kept in Albanian. Because then it would have felt more modern, but it still would have that like Albanian soul to it, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know, because we never saw that version of Titan or of Zemrendor. I would be curious to see it though. And then this staging was just absolutely just a mess. There is no aesthetic to it. There's no clear vision. There's no clear idea of what we're doing. No cohesion whatsoever. You have the dancers doing stuff. You have the backdrops being weird. You have Bessa in this like baby blue dress. What about this screams Titan? What about this screams Albania? What about it screams Bessa? Nothing. This is just so like random to me. There's nothing to grasp on to like see the vision that Besa or the Albanian delegation had. Because there's no vision. They just turned a pretty good song into a pretty generic one by making it fully in English, and then gave it an even more generic and also confusing staging. And it just kind of makes me very sad because there's so much potential here. But I hope that this was a lesson for the future artists coming into the contest, because clearly this is not how you do a revamp. I think a good example of how you do a revamp is Montenegro from this year with Nina Zizic and Dobrodošli. That was a great revamp, and it also kept the Montenegrin spirit intact. And it still felt like the same song, but just like upgraded. This feels like a totally different song that she just bought off of like one of the Melfest riders. And I don't like that. I don't support that. Albania places 28th in my ranking. San Marino, okay, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I actually kind of like this entry. This is one of those underrated stagings for me when it comes to just in general this contest, because this staging was so good. Everyone talks about like Ukraine, Ireland, Switzerland, right? And first of all, rightfully so, because those were incredible. But where's San Marino in that discussion? Because this was such a good performance. There was something wrong there vocally, but ultimately, that wasn't that big of an issue for me when I was watching it. What I was really, really hooked on was the aesthetic that it presented. That color palette and the almost like cartoon but slightly creepy vibe of the LEDs and of the costumes and of the band members, the pink and the black together. It just, everything worked so well together. They had such a great idea of how to make this cohesive. And I just love that. I genuinely think that this is one of the best stagings of the year. And Noki, this coming from San Marino too is kind of crazy, because like San Marino, no shade, but their stagings are all over the place. Just look at Tutta l'Italia this year. That was, I have no idea what that was really. So this being a fully realized concept with very, very strong visual identity that also correlates to the song. Okay, San Marino, snaps for that. The song itself, I actually really enjoy. It is a little dated, which I think seems to be the problem for some people, but honestly, it's still fun. I still enjoy listening to it. I find it really fun. And I also really like that flamenco breakdown in the bridge. I think that is one of the coolest parts of the song. And yeah, just in general, this is hype. I haven't listened to this song that much throughout the 2024 season, or even post the 2024 Eurovision season, to be for real. But every single time this song comes on, I'm like, wait, there's something there. And I don't see enough people talking about it really. I think we need to appreciate 1111 a little bit more. And also I think Megara are just in general extremely cool. I would love to see them come back to Eurovision. Maybe representing Spain this time. San Marino places 24th in my ranking. And this is what I was saying when like, I'm gonna be singing praise all over these songs and then I'm gonna place them like 24th. Because that's just kind of what 2024 as a year was. So I apologize to the fans of 1111, to all free fans of 1111. But I still really enjoy that entry. This is where we get controversial, because this song has fans. It has stans. It has people that think this deserves to win the contest. And I just never saw the vision for that. The first time I listened to it, I was like, okay, this is good. This is really, really good. I love the production. I think the message is strong. I like the build-up, right? The second time I listened to it, I was already like, okay, I'm getting a little tired of having to wait so long for this song to do anything. And then the third time I listened to it, I was just like, okay, so next time this song comes on, I am just skipping it. And that was kind of a very, very short description of how my relationship with this song evolved. It was a constant decrease. And why is that? It's because of that goddamn build-up. Or actually, the non-existent build-up for the most part of the song. Because why does it take them 2 minutes to do anything in this song? Literally, the first 2 minutes sound exactly the same. There's nothing that changes, nothing that builds. It just sounds so boring. It just sends you to sleep practically. from the very first note, and the more you hear it, the more like bored you get of it. And then suddenly you get to that build up, you get to that final big dramatic moment, and that part is great. But having to wait practically 2 minutes for it is just not it, especially when all of our attention spans are shrinking. Mine is already dead practically. Like I don't have 2 minutes to spare for you to finally sell me on the song in the last 30 seconds. That's just not how this is gonna work. I wish that there were more tricks throughout, like more like little production moments, maybe more vocal moments that would signify that we're actually going somewhere, because most of the song is just very much here, and then suddenly that's how the graph goes. I wish that there were maybe like some things in the production to signify that, hey, we are building, add in like a drum, add some more layer vocals, have some more backing vocals actually, maybe some ad-libs, maybe some like production tricks here and there, like a few synths. Just signify that there's something more dramatic going on. Give us like the glimpse of that final outro before we get to it. Also, pump up the volume in the second chorus. Maybe do like a more dramatic end of the second verse. Like just do something to make it interesting. Everything about this feels disproportionate to me. And then when you get to the performance, same problem occurs, because Musti stays on that like platform with the microphones for literally the first 2 minutes of the performance. And he's like over there like serving, singing, right? Cool. But it gets boring really quickly. There's not much to do with the camera angles. He doesn't really do much. He just kind of stands there and like does stuff that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense or doesn't really feel that exciting. And when you get to that final part, yeah, finally things start happening. But by that part, you're already bored and it's already like too late for people to pick up their phones and to vote for you. On the positive note though, I don't think his vocal was that bad as people exaggerate. I think he sounded okay, although that final part did seem to be a little erratic from the vocal standpoint. I also really like his outfit. I actually think it makes a lot of sense with the song. So those are the parts that I personally like. And I mean, that final outro is epic. I just wish that the rest of the song matched it. And that's kind of where I stand with my relationship with Before the Party's Over. Also, it's crazy to me that this is a Drag Race judge. What a way to collide my two different worlds. Like, what do you mean this is somebody who judged 2 seasons of Drag Race Belgique? Such a fun thing to add to your resume, honestly. But rest in peace, Drag Race Belgique. You will always be famous in my household. I love that little franchise. They were so messy. Belgium places 26th in my ranking. Mother Natalia Barbu was busy fighting against those nudist demons, and unfortunately she couldn't clock in to make a better song, but we'll excuse her this time. Okay, right, like let's just get this out of the way. This song was never going to work. It's just not interesting enough. There's not much going on in it. I think some parts of it actually work. I think the chorus, even though it's kind of bad, but it also, in a way, it's catchy. I think the violin parts are really, really good. And just altogether, I kind of like the message of it, but it just doesn't feel distinct enough. It doesn't feel like it has enough of a perspective in order to stand out, and thus challenge for a qualification spot. There are still elements that I do enjoy about it. Like, for example, that previously mentioned violin part. I actually kind of like the staging as well. I think the colors they chose are really, really nice, and I like the kind of blooming nature of it. I like the little projections on the LEDs. I think they work well with this performance. And the moment where Natalia grabs that violin and starts playing it is really, really cool. I do, however, think that the actually national final performance concept was more interesting than this one, with the lookalikes and other people on the stage. I actually think that having a full-on orchestra kind of it's not an orchestra, but having more people there to synchronize their moves with you would create such a fun illusion. And yeah, I think that's kind of a missed opportunity to not do something with that concept. But then again, I don't hate what they did in Malmö, so that's kind of just my personal little pet peeve with this. Natalia's vocal is also really good, I think, in this performance specifically. For how much I don't care about the song, it's actually crazy how many positives I can find about this performance. Moldova, every year they kind of lock in when it comes to their final entry, and they kind of produce something that is actually kind of good when they get to the contest. And most of the time, it's enough to qualify. This, unfortunately, was not that case, but I still found it very enjoyable. You know, when this comes on during the semifinal, when I'm going to be rewatching it probably later tonight to get all the clips, I'm not going to be skipping through it because honestly, it's kind of fun. I enjoy it. Okay, Moldova places 31st on the board, and we can move on to Denmark. Saba was kind of robbed. Whole season, I believed that she would be the person to break Denmark's non-qualification streak, bring them back into the final. And like, I saw the vision. I really enjoyed the song, even though it does have the little stink of being from like one of those Nordic songwriting camps. Like, it feels like it came from that same factory that all of the entries from Melody Grand Prix or Melfest come from. But it works for me, and I think the main reason why it works for me is Saba's vocal. She serves this song very, very well, and I actually really loved that national final performance from her. I thought it was so strong. But then we get to Malmo, and I think they kind of sabotaged her with the staging. Like, it just feels a little empty in places. It feels like there were ideas that they just didn't fully fulfill. I also think the choreo department could have done better, because there is one part where she just stands there singing and it's just like waving her arms around like that, and it just kind of feels very like, okay, like what is the point of that? I also think that the little projection they have of Saba behind her doing the exact same moves is very weird. Like, it's not the same effect as like Jerry Hiles' projection, which we're gonna talk about when we get to Ukraine. This one just doesn't work. It doesn't feel like it's a part of the performance, but for some reason it's there. So you just kind of have to deal with it. That's the crazy part. Like, the Danish national final doesn't really have that great of a production, but I still preferred that performance over the one in Malmo. So yeah, I think that this had potential to break the non-qualification streak for Denmark. And I kind of still believe that it should have been the one to do it. Then again, the Danish delegation kind of didn't stick the landing here. And it just felt really sad, because I was really rooting for Saba throughout the season. So unfortunately, some things are just not meant to be. But I'm still glad that Denmark was able to break that non-qualification streak with Sissel the following year. And I kind of do feel like Saba was the necessary step in order to make that happen. So I'm glad it did. Denmark places 19th. Okay, Poland, again, this is where I'm gonna just refer you to a video I made ranking every Polish entry up until 2025, because I did cover the tower pretty extensively there. I'm just gonna keep it quick here. I will never understand the hate for this entry, specifically from the Polish community. I think we should be grateful for the tower, actually. Like, yes, its selection was kind of controversial, and it did not stick the landing. It did not qualify. It was close to, but it did not. But then again, I do feel like the tower was sort of a necessary step in the right direction, and it feels like a modern song, and that's something that I'm not used to saying about Poland. Like, even Gaia, I wouldn't call it a modern song, but this is a modern song. This feels like something that kind of comes from the future. This song feels like you're listening to progress being made, and it's really cool to me. And actually, I kind of like the vibe of the performance. I'm not gonna lie, I think there are some parts that could have been better, like the choreo or some of the camera angles. I think they were a little off. They tried to do a little too much in places. The towers were also a little too on the nose for me. But like, overall, I still enjoyed it, and I have fun with it. That's what's more important. Poland places 14th in my ranking. Now we go to Czechia, and this entry I initially did not live, because that national final performance clip, it happened. I just felt like this song lacked something, and I just didn't really enjoy it the entire season. I listened to that revamp, but I think I listened to it with maybe the wrong mindset, because I was already coming from a place where I didn't really enjoy this. But then Miss Aiko arrives to Malmo and gives one of the best performances of the night, and I'm like, oh, because I genuinely enjoy this performance so much. That revamped version works so well live. It's crazy. And Aiko locked in on the vocal department. This was crazy from her. She had the charisma. She owned that stage. I genuinely, after seeing that, believed that she would qualify. And then she didn't. But she should have. And also, like, if Israel wasn't there, she would have qualified. So in my heart, she did. So that's all that matters, really. I love the aesthetic of this. I actually kind of like the lookalikes. I think her energy was just off the charts. Like, she is a rock star, and I believe the vision. I also loved that there's the little breakdown in the song where you almost hear like an argument, and that argument was reenacted through one of those like light up cubes they had on the ceiling. By the way, love these cubes. They were such a fun element of a lot of the stagings. Really, really cool. She is one of those artists that post Eurovision managed to stay relevant outside of the contest by making music with many different artists from, like, for example, Taya. She also had a lot of music that actually did pretty well. She's completed a few tours by now. Also got a girlfriend for Eurovision, which is, I think, very much important to mention. I think that's one of the happiest endings I've ever seen to a Eurovision arc, because, like, of course she did not qualify, but she got a girlfriend out of the experience. I think that is very, very sick, and like, congratulations to Aiko and to Kat. Like, good for you. I am rooting for you. I love you guys. You're so much fun. I just wish that this would have qualified, but honestly, looking at what placed above this in the semi, that being Norway's Gotte, had Ulveham not made it to the final, I would have wound up on the news. So maybe it's for the better, I don't know. We have Czechia placing 16th on the board. Oh god, this non-qualification kind of hurt, because I spent most of the season kind of defending this entry. I felt like many people didn't appreciate it enough, and like, I was the only person who liked it. I also feel like a lot of people were talking about it quite disrespectfully, when specifically when talking about like the culture of it. And I felt very iffy about that. I really, really enjoyed this. Yes, like, it does feel a bit generic in places, but like, overall it's just a very fun package, and I really, really enjoyed what Electric Fields brought to the contest. And I was so sad that they didn't qualify, and also so sad that they were like literally like this close to doing it, this close to being in the final. I love the vibe that they bring. I love the cultural element of this performance as well, and I really enjoyed the performance of it too. This is something that we don't see often in Eurovision, and I think it should be appreciated. And also, I remember actually arguing with people on TikTok about this, where people were questioning why we are seeing an entry like this from Australia, because it's not European culture. I'm just like, girl, like, yes, Eurovision is mainly for European countries, but we have other countries participating. Like, it's not solely for Europe. You have Australia, you have Israel, we've had like Morocco in the past. Like, get it together. And also, we've had cultures that are not European celebrated on that stage before. Like, we had, for example, Netherlands 2021. Great example of a culture that doesn't come from Europe being celebrated through the Eurovision Song Contest. And what? It was great. So like, why is this some people just piss me off. But then we get to like the actual negatives of this entry, and that probably is the staging. I think it's very simplistic. I don't really know if it gives off the vibe that the song does. Like, it just kind of feels a little mismatched for the song. And I like the outfits, especially Zakaria's outfit. That is great. But also the vocals, they were a little off. And I think it's mostly just like stress or maybe being overworked. But yeah, they didn't sound the best. And that was one of those moments where I was like watching it and being like, oh no. Because I was like literally just watching their qualification chances drop before my own eyes, and it was very, very sad to witness. Australia places 22nd in my ranking, and now we technically should be going to the qualified entries, but there is one more entry that didn't get to perform in the final that we definitely have to talk about, and that is, of course, the Netherlands. I have a very weird relationship with this entry because prior to the contest, like, I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was fun, but I didn't really like love it that much. There were so many other songs that I preferred over it, just like on the musical level. I definitely appreciated it. I definitely saw why so many people hyped this up to be a potential winner. And I definitely still see that vision, but it just wasn't personally for me. You know, I wasn't like connecting to it as much. And then I saw that performance during the semi-final too. And that was life-changing. That crowd interaction, the visuals, the dancing, the energy of Yost, the charisma, that was what really sold me on the song. It wasn't the song itself, it was how they chose to perform it. It just felt so authentic to Yost. And there was that one element of it that just felt so personal, so vulnerable. And also seeing how much the crowd got into it with all of the little ad-libs they did with Yost was just like actually such a touching moment. Like I was watching that in awe of the whole performance. Then they qualified, as everybody kind of predicted. And then we never saw Yost again on the Eurovision stage because he got disqualified after that. That's where my relationship with this entry evolved even further. Seeing that crowd interaction specifically made me believe that this was going to win. And yeah, I already made peace with that. This was the winner. This was going to win, even though it wasn't my favorite song of the year, but I would have been happy with this winning. And then everything just went to shits. And he got disqualified for one of the most stupid reasons I've ever seen. Like, the more we learn about the case of Joost Klein disqualification, the less it makes sense. I can't even put it into words how frustrating it is to continuously learn new details about him being disqualified when compared to, for example, the Israeli delegation. Fully, we have evidence on video, on photos of them just fully going and harassing everybody. And yet EBU didn't do shit about it. But then Joost has one moment where he argues with somebody and it gets a little bit heated and suddenly he's out. Like, people have done way crazier things on Eurovision than this, and they still were allowed to perform at the final, or like weren't faced with many consequences. This just made me so angry. Like so angry, to the point that like my enjoyment of the contest just went down to zero. I watched that final. I had no fucking clue what was gonna happen, but also I didn't care at that point because I was just exhausted by everything that happened on May 10th. It was a lot. It's crazy because I didn't care for this song in the beginning that much, but now listening to it or rewatching the performance, it suddenly has such a different meaning to me. You know, this is a song about the message of unity and coming together as one continent and, you know, seeing a world without borders. And that's something that I definitely subscribe to. You know, that's definitely something that I do believe in. But having this as an ending for it just makes me so sad. And listen, I'm not scared to admit it. I've cried watching this performance before. I did whilst I was preparing for this video, actually. It brings so many negative memories back, but also seeing just like how happy he was and how happy everyone was around him. And then like thinking back to May 10th and how everything just got ruined for everybody just really brings my mood down. Joost Klein's performance of Europapa, but also the later disqualification of him, to me feel like the symbols of the downfall of the contest that we've been seeing ever since, with the spineless decisions and also the continued enabling of Israel participating in the contest. This was a warning that we should have taken even more seriously. Actually, no, we as a fandom, we took it pretty seriously, I'd say. I would say that the reaction was pretty justified and pretty on par with what happened. And the calls for Israel to be excluded were pretty loud even back then. But we're only getting to the point where that might happen now. And it just feels crazy that this is how long it took, and that this wasn't like some sort of a warning for other people in, for example, the EBU top brass. Like, look at what happened. Look how much of just like mess around the contest happened where there was no need for it to be. Look how many things you could have done to prevent this from happening, and the further controversy and the further like infamy of the contest from spreading. There's so much you could have done, but yet you do jack shit and you instead invent some pointless rule changes, referencing now what the changes to the semifinals were. The juries come back and the point system gets changed. Like, okay, yeah, that's gonna help a little. That ain't changing shit, because you still have a country in the roster that is gonna outright rig the contest in order to win and justify their actions through a fucking music competition. Stories like these are the reasons why I am kind of unable to enjoy the contest at the moment fully. Like, I really want to just be happy about, for example, the comebacks of Romania, Bulgaria, Moldova now to the contest. I want to be happy about the potential of Canada or Kazakhstan being in the contest. I want to be excited about the new season. I want to go to Vienna. But then I think to things like this. And I'm like, is this really the institution that I want to align myself with? I don't think so. So that's why like making Eurovision content has been like kind of difficult for me, honestly. Like not to get like very like vulnerable for no reason, but like it has been difficult to find motivation to talk about this contest because of how much it has disappointed me in the last 2 years. And I just, I really hope that we see a change in 2026 and that the main issue, that is of course Israel, gets removed from the equation on December the 3rd on the General Assembly. I really, really hope that that happens. And I hope that we can finally see the message of Europapa in action at Eurovision, that we can finally see unity, we can finally see peace, cultural celebration, without the added context and propaganda that that delegation brought. I think that this song is very, very important to the contest. And I actually say it's only getting more important as the time went on, whether it's for Eurovision itself or for the greater context of what's going on in Europe. And I think we need to appreciate it and celebrate the message of it and try to live by its word. Netherlands placed 13th in my ranking. As I said, this isn't one of my favorite songs, but I still stand with its message. And I think it's a symbol that we needed in order to wake up as a fandom and to see what the contest has become. And I think we all should be grateful to Joost for bringing so much happiness through that semi-final to performance, even if it was only for a short moment. And now we can get into the finalists, starting with Norway. Europe, you failed them. Fuck you. I was a believer in this and a stan of this song from the moment I heard it. Kano, haven't heard of them. Super Rob had a banger that I still actively stream, but nothing was going to top Ulvaham. This is like another level of music, another level of storytelling, of cultural celebration, but also of performance. It was insane to witness. And also this is so far removed from like the typical music I listen to outside of the contest. You know, I probably the heaviest music I listen to is like fucking Sabrina Carpenter or something. Like that's the kind of music I listen to outside of the contest. And then I'm here glazing a folk metal entry because it's genuinely one of the best things I've ever heard in my life. And the worst part is I unfortunately very much understand why this happened. You know, this is in a language that not many people speak. It's in a style that not many people listen to, and in a vocal styling that not many people have heard of before or are willing to enjoy. And that all combines with a 25th place, despite the fact that this should have fucking won. It should have been Oslo 2025, not Basel. The Shepherd's Calling worked on me. I was hypnotized from the very first moment I heard this. And I will always continue to cherish this entry. I think this is one of those ultimate robbed entries that I just will never really get over how mistreated they were. Like, I think, okay, I can excuse the public maybe blanking on this because it is out there, but the jury's not giving this anything practically made me very, very mad, very upset. I think Gote or also some of these artists that really, really stayed with me post-contest. I love their stuff post-Eurovision. I would love to see them live. I unfortunately missed my chance when they were in Poland recently, but maybe one day I will get to see them and see Ulvaham or other songs from their discography performed live. I would love to go to a concert of theirs. I really feel so sad about this robbery because this is such a monumental entry, and for it to be treated like that, like, I understand why Melody Grand Prix the following year was just such a snooze fest, because this is a sign that you should not take risks, because the risks are just not gonna be appreciated. You should not go out there with a interesting song in your own language, celebrating your own folklore, because Europe is just gonna blank it. I think that sucks. I don't think that's the message I would have liked to have seen sent to, artists potentially applying for Eurovision. I think the effect of the Ulvaham robbery is unfortunately very visible in the way that the 2025 lineup looked like. And yeah, I'm still bitter about it, really. I clearly have a fun way of picking my winners for each edition because like most of them really don't do that well. Like if you see my Eurovision revisits, my other videos, I just really like the winner I pick never really does that well, with the exception of 2021. But I'm sorry, I cannot ignore what my heart says. Norway is my winner of 2024, and Ulveham should have won. I don't give a shit. Okay, so Austria. This being second to last kind of gagged me, not gonna lie, but it's not like I loved it that much to be upset about it, but I was just a little surprised. I think We Will Rave made a big impression on me when I first heard it, but then the more I kept listening to it, the more I was like, okay, this is just a fun banger, but I always prioritize emotional connection and just like, you know, that side of music. So there was no way for me to connect to We Will Rave on a different surface other than just like, I like it, it's a bop. There was nothing deeper to go and to sink my teeth into. Like it just kind of was there. I enjoyed it for what it was. And I thought that the performance in Malmo was also really, really fucking good. Like it felt polished. It felt what the song needed was done. I liked the choreo. The dance break was crazy. But yeah, I kind of don't know why this happened really, because I feel like this is something that people typically would vote for. But then again, you know, I'm not too mad about it. I think this is one of those entries that was questionable vocally, but that's mostly just because of how much Colleen was doing. Like when you're dancing this much and you're being fucking flipped around by your dancers, picked around, thrown around, just everything, right? Like they're gonna sound a little shaky. That's just kind of the nature of it. Also, I do stand by the fact that she should have been allowed to perform again in the final, because that malfunction probably cost her some points. You know, most of people watching didn't get to see that dance break. And I think that was the main point of the performance. That was the selling point of it. And it just wasn't caught on camera because one of the Steadicams broke. I think she should have been allowed to perform again. I don't know how the logistics of that would work, but I do think that they probably should have recompensated her a little, or at least maybe, I don't know, play the footage of her performance from the semifinal or something like that. Like, just do something. Austria places 21st, and we can move on to Slovenia. This bottom five is insane, because that's what I was saying in the beginning. This bottom five alone would have dog-walked any other Eurovision edition from recent memory, and I stand by that fact. Slovenia is always going to be famous in my household, partially because of their entries, like Veronica, for example, but also because of how consistently they've been a pain in the EBU's ass about Israel. Live, laugh, love, Slovenia. Really, really appreciate you guys. Veronica is one of the best songs in Eurovision history, and I stand by that. I think this vocal alone is one of the craziest things we've ever seen. She sounds like she's not human. She sounds like a higher being, a ghost, a just like a celestial being that just kind of blessed us with her presence. That's what Raven is. The story of it being about the first woman to be trialed for witchcraft in Slovenia and turning that around to be a message of encouragement and, you know, all of us being Veronica. I think that is so cool. And it references the culture, you know, it references the folklore. It goes to the witchy territory, which I also love. But then again, it also has that like modern twist to it, which I love. And just everything about the song, about the way that it's sung, about the way that it's produced, and about the way that she performs it vocally, it's just everything to me. This staging I thought was okay. I think it could have been better. I kind of like the nature of the costumes. I think the song feels very vulnerable, in my opinion. It feels like you're shedding away all the societal expectations. So I think that's why there is so much like nudity in it. It feels deliberate. It feels like it has a message. About the like water backdrops, I don't really know. Like, I think it works well for parts of the song, but then for the final moment where she's like actually like doing these insane vocal moments that almost make it seem like she's actually like burning at the stake. I would have liked to have seen that water be replaced by like fire, or have the water set on fire, you know, magic. Like it's, of course, in real life, that's not gonna happen, but like, You know, we're talking about a witch here. So like, I would have liked to have seen like a switch to maybe grab the audience attention a little bit more, maybe throw them off a little with how like big of a contrast there is suddenly, because you have flames and she's like burning and then suddenly the performance ends. I think like this could have been a showstopper if it had a bigger budget. But honestly, even with a small budget, it's still one of the best entries ever. Slovenia places second in my ranking. Good job, guys. And first of all, Raven is a queen. Like we love her in this household and we love Veronica. This is, again, one of the best songs ever. Se llama Zora todavía. This banger. Zora is such a fun entry. And honestly, like throughout the season, it was never going to be my favorite. There are so many better songs than this, but watching this performance always just makes me smile. I love the way that she reclaims the word Zora and how it turns from an insult to like practically a description of like a bitch boss. Like a mother, really. The energy is infectious and we love that. Like this performance is so much fun to watch. I love the aesthetic of it. I love just how like down to earth but fun it feels. I even like that the dancers get progressively more naked with every like part of the song because it kind of makes sense for the concept. I love that crowd interaction. Ooh, chills every time. I think that this is one of the better entries Spain has sent in a while, and I will always cherish it, really. Like, again, not my favorite. Never will be, never was to begin with. I also think that it's fun, but also it has a message. You know, it's not just like a mindless bop. It has a purpose, and that's what makes me like enjoy it even more. Spain places 18th. 2024 is one of those weird years where Georgia decided to randomly leave the Kia asylum and qualify to the final with one of the most interesting girl bops we've seen in a while. Nutsa is a fabulous performer. Like that, first of all, she has a great voice. She's a great dancer. And I love the styling on her. I actually kind of like the staging as well. I think it's minimalistic and I think they could have done more, but also it works well with this song. I don't think you need much in order to make a girl bop work. Like all you need to focus really on is the vocals, the outfit, and the choreo, and then you're gonna have a winner, right? But specifically, that choreo is sick as hell. Firefighter is a very, very fun song, and I love that the way that it's structured. I think it flips the typical structure that we see for girl bops on its head because, you know, you have the dance break in the middle and not as like a crowning moment of it. You have a bigger, more dramatic vocal ending to it all that feels honestly even more hype than a dance break would. I think it's such a smart way to keep the audience engaged because it's not like you're watching the entire performance waiting for that one dance break to happen and for you to be like, oh my God, yes, mother, right? You have these moments sprinkled throughout the actual like performance so that you never really get bored of it. You know, it starts and immediately you're into it. And immediately there are moments that you're like, oh my God, this is so good. And then it just keeps on going. And the final moment is her belting and doing it flawlessly. Georgia places 20th.
And clap.
Ooh, girl. You guys already know how I feel about this one. I'm saying this for like, I think the third time in this video already, but this is one of the best entries of all time. Bringing a song about not having anything to do with those drugs and explaining to the policemen that are raiding your place that you're innocent, you don't have any drugs because that's rich people stuff. And thus doing commentary on how the police and law enforcement just in general treat poor people when at the same time enabling same behaviors that they would punish poor people for in rich people, and also making it an absolute banger. Like, what else do you need? This might be the worst vocal of the year, but weirdly, I just don't give a shit because this is not a vocal song. This is a hype song. This is a vibe song. You listen to it, not for like fucking whistle notes or anything. You listen to it because you want to have fun. And that's what this performance is supposed to bring. Okay? This staging is a mess. Probably the worst staging of the year, actually. There's nothing going on. It's just them yelling at each other and doing a silly dance with some projections of themselves in the background. Nothing really happens in that staging. And guess what? It still fucking works. Like, the song itself is just so hype. You cannot go wrong with Estonia with something like this, because Nendes narkotikumidis eteime kulmedagi is just that girl. This is one of those very rare entries where vocally, staging-wise, it just doesn't matter. All that matters is the vibe. All that matters is the energy and the fun. And Visminis and Polop brought that in spades. Also, this is how you make an actual, like, joke entry that doesn't really have to sound good hype. Espresso Macchiato was not that. Tommy Cash needs to learn a lesson from these guys, because, girl, that was not it. And low-key, they were also vocally better than him. And they were also more entertaining. So, what about that? Estonia places third in my ranking.
In case you haven't noticed, I'm weird. I'm a weirdo. I don't fit in.
From one crazy-ass entry to another, we go to Finland. This is probably even crazier though, because you have the constant nudity of Windows 95 men, which is a lot. I never quite liked this entry, but also I never hated it. I feel like a lot of people hate on it so much, and honestly, I don't know if I subscribe to that, because song-wise, I think No Rules is actually very good. It's a polished song. Yes, it's something that we've heard before. It does feel a little bit like overdone in places. Like, we've heard this before, right? But it's done in a way that makes it fun. It's enjoyable. If it comes on, I'm not gonna be like that tempted to skip it. I actually think it's done pretty well. I like Henry in the bridge or in the choruses. I like Windows 95 Man doing his weird like narration in the verses. It's fun. And then the performance, I understand why it's controversial, because it's making a joke out of being practically nude, right? But also there's something that I do appreciate about it from like the technical standpoint, because this so easily could have gone wrong if he just like stood in the wrong place, or if the camera was slightly off place, like, or the angle was slightly wrong. Like, there's so much room for error in this performance, but they executed it to perfection, and we never saw a mishap from this on camera, even though apparently Windows 95 Man did flash some people during one of the performances. But we do not have footage of that, and nor do I want to see this footage. This just feels like a fever dream though. Like, you have the jeg, you have Henry's outfit, you have Windows 95 Man constantly being naked, you have the sparkling shit he shoots out of his outfit at one point. Like, it's a lot. But honestly, there is something that does charm me about the level of chaos that they produce here. So honestly, good job. We have Finland placing 23rd in my ranking, and we can move on to the United Kingdom. This is one of those participations that really gagged me when I first saw it. I was just like, what the hell? Like, how is this possible? Ollie Alexander at Eurovision. Like, he is a name that I've known of for years before the contest, and now suddenly he is a part of it. Like, that is crazy. And then it ended with a 0 points. Like, it's weird to be now barely able to remember the entry or his participation just in general because of just how poorly it went. But I think I know why. Yeah, initially I was kind of surprised that Dizzy got 0 points. I thought that it would find an audience, and even though that audience would probably be small, I thought that it would like do something in the televote, especially because Ollie is a household name, you know, many people know him. But I think this is the proof that no matter how big of a name you are, if you bring the wrong song, you're just not gonna do that well. That vocal from Ollie on the night was not good. It was shaky. I don't think this was the right song for him to perform. I also think that the staging, even though it's fucking impressive, I also understand why it's like divisive. You know, this is literally just Paygorn on the Eurovision stage. I thought it was cool, but a lot of people are not going to think the same. Although I do kind of find it funny that it's placed like right above Finland, which also gets critiqued for like the nudity of it all and the very inappropriate nature of the staging. And this practically has the same thing. I think this was controversial, and I think it was a brave risk to take. But the thing about risks is just they don't pay off. I never understood why this was the song that Ollie took for Eurovision, because nothing about it really screams, hey, this is a Eurovision entry. Nothing. It doesn't have the hype. It doesn't have the drama. It doesn't have the moments that you're gonna think, oh, this is the Eurovision winning moment. You know, it has nothing really to sell you on the vision of it winning. They tried to make up for that in the staging, but that only just turned people off more. And also, every year we get hundreds of songs in different national finals, and a lot of them are not suited for Eurovision, but then they just don't get selected. Meanwhile, this went to the contest. I don't understand why take this kind of song to the contest when it's an basically untreaded territory. You know, not many people have done stuff like this on the contest, and we don't have a record of it being like successful. So that risk, just in general, I don't think was smart. Like, there are smart risks and there are dumb risks. I think the staging was closer to being a smart risk, but the song was a dumb risk. Also, if the UK wants to send a big name next, call up Runa Sawayama. Do it now. The UK places 27th. Ramonda is a beautiful, beautiful song. It's so sad and hopeless, but the last part brings in that little like ray of hope, which I really, really appreciate. That makes me appreciate the way that the narrative is constructed even more. And also, I think the style that it's performed in, and specifically Teodora's vocal, makes it very, very distinct. And I don't think we hear much music like this in the Eurovision Song Contest or in the circles around it. So I was really, really excited to see something like Ramonda on the stage, like Eurovision. I also like the staging idea of it as well. It kind of feels like you have this like practically dead island that she's floating on, and that's kind of the symbol of like the melancholy and the hopelessness. But then you have, you know, that one little Ramonda that blooms, and that is a reminder that the sadness and the pain passes, and it can be replaced by something beautiful. Overall, I really love sad music, as we've come to learn from this channel, and Ramonda definitely delivers on that. I think it's a great song, and it's a song that I really, really appreciated hearing from the contest, on the contest, sorry. And also, I think this is one of the best entries that Serbia has sent to the contest. Serbia places 15th, and we can move on to Latvia. Listen, good for Latvia for qualifying. You know, they were struggling to do that, and they finally did that in 2024. That's really, really cool for them. Good job, guys. However, I did not see the vision. This was kind of random for me. Like and also I think this was the first qualification they announced on the night, and I was like, what the fuck? This was literally the last thing I expected, because yes, the performance was good. Dance sounded great. I thought the staging was okay, but I just didn't expect this song to qualify, and not only qualify, but also do it comfortably. He was like 6th in the semi-final. And I think why I just never connected to Hollow mostly is because I kind of enjoy the kind of music that Dance brought to the contest. I kind of like the Hozier, Bon Iver type sound. Because I do like that, I do kind of feel like this was an emulation of that, but not really like a successful one. Like, it just kind of feels a little unoriginal, maybe. Okay, maybe that's the wrong word, but it just doesn't feel like it would compete with those kinds of artists. You know, it just kind of feels very basic when compared to those songs. And that's kind of why I felt disconnected from it. But honestly, Dance is a great artist. I thought he was very funny throughout the season. I really enjoyed his presence. And honestly, I mean, good for Latvia, because probably disqualification was one of the steps they needed in order to send Totomatas to the contest. And I'm completely obsessed with Totomatas. So, you know what? Good for them. Latvia places 32nd, and we can move on to Cyprus. First of all, hats off to Celia for qualifying and performing this well at such a young age. I think the age conversation is always going to come up when you have artists like Celia, or for example, like from the previous year, you had Victor. And his performance didn't really go well, so that's why I had very low expectations for Celia. But she did deliver. Although I am glad that that age rule is now getting changed to just being 18 plus, because this is a very, very tough experience for anybody, even experienced artists. And especially when you're not even an adult, like that must be like twice as hard. So honestly, that's good. And I think that's how it should have been from the beginning, but oh well. I think Celia was the correct performer for the song. She sold it to me. I believed it. But everything else, no ma'am. This song itself is just such a mess. These are some of the worst lyrics of all time. Like, what do you mean? Waking up in the morning and I'm feeling like ooh la la. First of all, I cannot relate because when I wake up, I feel like shit. And just in general, this song being about someone, you know, being cheated on and being sang by a 16-year-old is kind of like, it's not weird, but it is a little like something's just not really, yeah, so something's not gelling together for me. This performance I think was okay from Celia. I think the staging was pretty okay. It's just like for a girl bop, like what else are you gonna do? It's just kind of very simplistic. I think it works. I don't remember it much, but I think it did its job. The choreo though, I don't know who was the choreographer for this, but fire them immediately and maybe even sue them for damages because this dance break was horrible. Celia did her best to sell this, but it genuinely, with the way that she's moving her arms, it's so frantic. It looks like somebody's performing an exorcism on her. And from what I know, Bambi Thug was not even close to that stage by that point in the semi when we watched it, or in the final. So it wasn't them. Cyprus places 29th. I think they got the performer correct, but all of the rest of it, I think they're lucky to qualify. Oh my god, this absolute banger. Lithuania is just unable to not serve this decade. It's insane. This is such a cool song. It feels so deep and so moody, but it's also perfect for the contest. It being fully in Lithuanian also adds to the experience. I think it's not just like an EDM dance track. It's something more. There's some like level of mystery to it. And that is also only further by the way that it's performed with the staging. I love the usage of color in this performance with the blue and the reds. It creates different like worlds throughout the performance where like the blue is more relaxed, but when you see the red, it's more sharp, you know, the energy jumps up. And I also like the visual of Sylvester's face on the LEDs in places. Like it genuinely feels like an acid trip when you're watching it. Sylvester is such a good performer. He's a great dancer. I love that dance break. I think he performs this song very well. And he's also one of my favorite artists to come from this edition. He's just so cool. This is an entry that stays with you, whether it's for the styling, for the performance, for the song itself, it just stays with you. This is not something that you simply forget. And I wish that this had made it to the left side of the scoreboard, especially considering the two entries that placed above this, which are both abysmal. So let's just get on and talk about them. But first, let's put Lithuania on the board. We have Lithuania in 6th, and we can move on to Luxembourg.
What do you do successfully? Quickly.
They were absent from the contest for 30 years, and this is what they chose to come back with. Speaking of generic pop songs, I think that this is a great example of a generic pop song. Also, I think that this is a great example of an annoying pop song, because that chorus is just, ooh, it just makes me feel like, you know, when somebody has like flour and they rub it onto like a table, or like people scratching nails on like boards. That's the feeling I get when I listen to this chorus. It just makes me so just like, ew, like hate the hook of the song. Hate it. I think there are parts of it that I do enjoy. I think mostly it's the French like post-chorus and pre-chorus. I think those parts are great. Although the pre-chorus does kind of sound like she's like preparing for a climax in places. But the way that it's sang and produced, it just doesn't really connect with me. The styling also, who chose to put Tully in these fucking pigtails? This is not the hairstyle that I ever imagined working on Eurovision, because it just kind of feels like you're going to like, I don't know, your first day in 5th grade and not to compete in the Eurovision Song Contest. I think the color palette is fine for this performance, but they also commit one of the cardinal sins of this edition when it comes to the LED like CGI things that they decide to project. That leopard, or whatever the fuck that was, that cheetah, the biggest cat. Yeah, there's nothing I particularly enjoy about this. It's just mostly annoying. And yeah, for a comeback entry after 30 years, I definitely think that this was pushed a little too high up the scoreboard. I think this probably should have been somewhere in the bottom 5, but I think it was just mostly the comeback luck that pushed them harder. And honestly, it's clear that that comeback luck is kind of fading away with the way that La Poupée Monte le Son did. And out of the two, I prefer that one. So Luxembourg places 30th. We are now on a run of very generic songs. Pun intended.
And clap.
Fucking hate this song. This is the predecessor to Alex Warren. And that is a very much an insult. Germany has a serious run of crimes when it comes to Eurovision, but this is one of the most atrocious ones to me personally, because it got rewarded with points and a 12th place finish when it definitely shouldn't have. This song placing above Norway, Slovenia, Lithuania, like, girl, in what world does this deserve to be 12? Isaac's voice is probably the only thing I actually like about it. I think he is a great vocalist. The song itself, generic as hell. The staging, I thought was camp, honestly. I thought it was pretty unserious. I see what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it like so like emotional and like, oh my god, the flames and the oh my god. But it just kind of comes off as very, very cheap and just not effective when you have the actual song play. And the thing that enrages me the most is that censor thing he does, because one of the verses has a curse word. I don't even remember what the word was, but he censored it by just not singing it, and there's just this blank. Like, just change the lyric. Just change the lyric. Germany places last in my ranking. Deservedly so. Zari is such an impactful song. It's like, this is one of those that is gonna stay with people for ages. This is a song that is gonna be remembered when Eurovision is already like dead in the grave. You know, this song is gonna stay with people for actual years. Marina Sati is an absolute legend, and I am so happy that she's one of those artists post-Eurovision that really seem to be very relevant, and she keeps on dropping new music and being very, very successful with it. I love her stuff. I actually really, really enjoy her music post-Eurovision as well. It's really, really good. I love everything about this entry. The modern, like, urban vibe compared with Marina's style of singing is just so cool. The message of it too, and how complex lyrically it is. And just like how much she brings to the performance. You know, it's not just one thing. There is a lot of fun that she has, but there are some like actual like thought-provoking things said in Zari that I personally really, really enjoy seeing. The performance, however, I do have some questions about. First of all, that outfit.
Alexis, Michelle. Boo.
I don't know who styled you, but they must hate your ass. When it comes to the actual performance, I am confused about the choice to do it in one shot for the like first 2 minutes of the performance. I actually think that this would have benefited from camera cuts in places, because the kind of the constant like walking around with the camera, it just kind of, I feel like it would have been slightly more impactful if it was more choppy actually. And I don't know about some of the backdrops. I think the very like bright LED colors, like that's gonna give somebody an aneurysm. But then again, I love like the way that this performance starts with like a Instagram live like layer on top of Marina's feed of performing, and then the kind of like Google Maps bird's eye view of like a city, I think it is, or the way that it ends. I love the choreo. I love the dancers. The dancers have so much charisma in this. And Marina is just fully alive for the entire performance. She gives it her all. And no matter like what she's wearing, even if the outfit is fucking appalling, really, she still serves this song so well. And honestly, Zari is forever iconic. We've got Greece placing 5th in my ranking, and we can move on to Portugal. I'm used to people knowing that I am a Portugal glazer, because practically everything they send to the contest now I end up eating up. So you will be surprised to hear that this song actually isn't in my top 3. Clearly. I always loved Grito, but it was never my winner. However, there is still so many things about it I enjoy. I think the message of it is so good. And also, I love the way that the song is staged. I think that is the highlight for me. The almost like very like raw nature of this performance with the white. It's so like bright, but also so, it feels down to earth. You know, there's no fantasy here. It feels realistic. It feels more down to earth than some of these performances where, you know, they're having CGI leopards or stuff like this. This doesn't have that. This is just emotions and on a pure white backdrop, and it's so effective. I love the choreo in this. I think it's so effective as well, because it would have been easy to just stage the song as just Yolanda singing it, but they do the choreo, and I actually think it works very well. I love the way that the dancers are styled. I also love the way that Yolanda is styled. Her performance, though, is the highlight here, because vocally she's perfect, right? That high note is fucking phenomenal, but the attitude she gives it, like, it just genuinely feels like her song. It feels like she is singing it and it's her story. This song belongs to her. And I love that. It feels so personal, and mostly that's because of the attitudes that she gives. We've got Portugal placing 11th, and we can move on to Sweden. This performance is objectively cool as hell. I love the way that they use space in this performance specifically, because when they start off, it's very limited, it's very focused, right? But as you go along with the performance, the space kind of unravels. They get more room for performing, and the energy kind of grows as they go as well. Like the song also helps in that it has a nice build. I think Marcus and Martinez are great performance, although I still can't tell them apart. I think the choreo is okay. It's funny in places because they're just doing this for the final part of the song, and it's just like, okay, cool, like, yeah, we vibing. But the song itself, this is the Melody Festivalen writers' idea of what a modern pop song that the kids get into is, and I don't think they've heard any of these songs for real, or maybe they heard them like once and they were like, okay, let's just try and replicate that. It does not work for me. It was made in a lab, and it just doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like it has any perspective to it. It just feels too fabricated. I am not gonna be shaking my ass to this, and my ass likes to be shaked. It feels sterile. It doesn't have roughness, or I don't know, like it just does not feel human in a way. I don't really know how to explain it, because it's not AI generated. Like, I'm not gonna call it that, but it just does not feel human either. Sweden places 25th in my ranking. I'm sorry, I just cannot enjoy this entry. The performance is cool, but the song itself, never gonna get into. So let's just move on to a much better song. Jesus Christ, Jaco might be the happiest performance we've ever seen at Eurovision. This is the happiest song we've ever seen at Eurovision. This was my winner for most of the season, and I still stand by that. Actually, you know, like my winner clearly changed over time, but I think that was still a very tasteful decision to have in 2024. This song is literally unhateable. I don't understand how people can look at Jaco and be like, no, boring, moving on. Like, how? Genuinely, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. How is anybody able to hate Jaco? This performance just fills me with joy. The way that Jacqueline sings it, her little like facial expressions. I love that the way that she does the call and response moment with the crowd. That is such a sick moment. And that's also one of the reasons why I don't mute Eurovision audiences. Basil? This performance doesn't feel like it was like curated and done in a lab, right? That's my problem with Sweden. This doesn't feel like that. This has personality to it. This feels like it's a group of like performers, group of musicians that just stumbled onto Eurovision and were like, hey, you guys look miserable. Let's have some fun. They go up on that stage, present you some culture, and just make you have the most fun you'll ever have for the 3 minutes that this performance takes place for. The message of this song is to always be loud and not let your voice be silenced, especially for women. And I think they deliver it so well. And I think this song is a great example of not being silenced and just being as loud as you can and as happy as you can and as unapologetic as you can. Everything about this song is just perfect for me. Armenia places 4th in my ranking. This is genuinely one of my favorite performances of all time. We got another Bengal alert because we move on to Italy with La Noia by Angelina Mango. This song is crazy to me because how do you make such an interesting and catchy song out of the concept of boredom? This song is so good and it aged like fine wine. This is another one of those that I feel like kind of flips the pop song template that we are used to seeing on its head, because it has, first of all, it has 2 different types of choruses. The verses are practically rap at some points, and then you have that a cappella moment. Everything, like production wise, this song is insane. Angelina sings it so well. I love the lyrics of it. The performance though I always felt conflicted about because the Sanremo ones were so good and it was just Angelina and her attitude. That's all this song really needs. And then you get to Malmo and you have like the maximum of dancers available on that stage. You have a very busy LED. You have like a throne. You have some things written on the LEDs. You have the choreo and everything. Like, it just does not have the same impact as Sanremo. The main reason is that the real magic of this performance is Angelina herself, not how rich the backdrop looks. And I think they fumbled hard by not replicating that. Of course, you can't just do that, but I feel like if you just took away like half of the things that they have for this performance, it would have been so much better. Just let Angelina do her own thing. Italy places 7th in my ranking. Okay, so this next performance, this is gonna be iconic for ages. Like, this is gonna be remembered for literal centuries because of how gaggy it was. Throughout the season, I enjoyed Doomsday Blue, I think a little bit more than some other people did, but also didn't really get into it that much. Like, I think the main problem with me with Doomsday Blue was always the studio version. It sounded good, but it just lacked something for me. And then, I mean, especially when you get into that performance, like, I am unable to listen to the studio version because the performance is so good to the point that the studio version feels empty without it. And it doesn't have that same raw, just like energy to it. I mean, especially Bambi's live vocal though was so phenomenal. But of course, when you get to Malmo with Doomsday Blue and then suddenly Bambi Thug and Sergio Hayen pull out this as a performance, like, how are you not gonna stan? Bambi and their dancer are absolute perfection. The way that they sell it, the facial expressions, the choreo is perfect. The staging is crazy. The way that they perform this song is so good. There are worlds, there are layers to this performance. And this is one of those that I go back to constantly. And every single time I come back to it, there's something more that I obsess over. Currently, it's those like little symbols that are barely visible in the back when the candles start floating or being lifted up because the whole thing is red. And you see those like little symbols. I didn't know they were there before. And then, of course, all of that culminates with Bambi fully just performing an exorcism on the dancer. Insane. This is one of the best aesthetics presented by anybody in Eurovision, just in general. Like, it's so clear what they're going for. The vision is there and it's been fulfilled. Also, I do kind of have the need to mention this. The YouTube comment section for this performance, it's very funny. Ireland places 12th in my ranking, and now we can move on to, you know what.
This is not good. Why are you saying this?
Girl, fuck you and your October raid. Eden is like one of the top 5 most unlikable contestants in the history of the contest. Like, Yovo at least tried to be nice to people and tried to be like, come off as a nice person. Eden didn't really give a fuck about that. She was such a mean bitch to everybody. And honestly, like, I already hated this song before, and I obviously dislike this delegation a lot, but her as an artist just, no, absolutely not. She has the energy of like one of those toxic popular girls in high school that end up failing half the classes because they're busy talking about their manicures or something like that. That's the vibe that Eden brings, and I very much don't like that. She has a good voice. Too bad she uses it for propaganda music. Like, this song just annoys the crap out of me. Like, oh, it's a hurricane. Oh, it's so so hard to survive. How are we gonna do it? Like, the day is gonna be so beautiful after the hurricane passes. It's so hard to be. I can think of some people that have it way harder than you do, and it's your fault. It's the fault of the country that you're very proudly representing on that international arena. The main character syndrome is truly crazy with this one, off the charts. This is the Polina Gagarina on like steroids, but also the flop version of Polina Gagarina, because she at least came close to winning. Eden lost the televote to a guy named Baby Lasagna. Honestly, a fitting ending to her story at Eurovision. At the time of me recording this, we are only a few days away from the General Assembly that's set to take place on December 3rd, 2025. This assembly hopefully is going to end with the disqualification of Israel. We already know that there are some countries that are willing to leave the contest if Israel stays. Those are Spain and Slovenia, who we respect a lot for this decision. We also know that Iceland is willing to uphold the boycott, and that Ireland and Netherlands are also very much not in for another edition with Israel being, present in the contest. So they're likely to withdraw as well, even though we don't have like solid confirmation of that. But it feels like we are closer than ever before to seeing this issue finally be resolved. However, I cannot get myself to be hopeful about it, because the EBU has fucked up before with stuff like this, and I don't think I'm in a place where I can fully trust that they're going to make the right decision. I feel like there's something that's going to go wrong. I just don't know what it is yet. But I really hope that this just ends in a good way, and that we can finally move past this. I just want a Eurovision edition where we don't have to be worried about the contest potentially dying if Israel wins, or where we don't have to actually witness the slow death of the contest as more people turn away from it and are just disappointed by the lack of morals that the EBU is presenting. So yeah, I'm trying to be hopeful. It's difficult, but hopefully on December 3rd, we'll be able to say that it's a new era for Eurovision in a good way. I really hope for that. Girl, I never liked this. I never liked this at all. Like, this just feels so painfully stereotypical to me. They tried to make a French entry that sounds like it's so French, but in the end, they ended up producing something that feels more like satire, honestly, than just like authentic French music. Paris, amour, like, shut up. This entire performance is just Slimane trying to rizz up the cameraman, and that does make me feel uncomfortable, considering his, endeavors outside of the contest, let's just call it that. And then he starts yelling into the microphone from a distance of 2 meters, which arguably, yes, it is impressive that he is able to pull up that kind of volume. But at the same time, it does feel silly after you see it a couple times. Like, we saw this be performed several times throughout the Eurovision season where he did that numerously. And also in the final, like, you can tell that he was tired of doing that trick. It's difficult. He pulls it off pretty okay, but in the end, it just doesn't really, it doesn't grab me. It kind of feels more silly than impressive, honestly, at some point. So yeah, this just was never for me. Don't like the performance of it. Don't like the staging. Moving on. France places 34th in my ranking. That's second to last. And we can move on to some actually good music from Ukraine. Jerry and Aliona are magical together. Truly magical. The song, the performance, just pure magic. And I'm saying this another time about this edition. Like, there's so many good songs, and Teresa and Maria is one of those songs that is gonna be remembered for ages. First, you have Jerry climbing a mountain and then performing these insane notes while having like wind blown on her. Then you have also the backdrop as she's climbing the rock of these like falling, what it seems to be falling stars, but if you know the context of what they're supposed to represent, it's both beautiful and absolutely heartbreakingly scary. Then you have Aliona bringing it full stop with that rap. Her energy is unmatched. Apparently she tripped one time when she was like walking on the stage, but she collects herself. She performs it so well, so much charisma, and then they join together. They perform it together, and then they lay down on the floor in this field of like very diverse women, and it genuinely feels like a sisterhood. It feels like an uplifting, and that is something you like to see at Eurovision. The message of appreciating the femininity and what women go through when faced against such dark and difficult times is so beautiful and so important to see, in my opinion. And they delivered to the maximum. I love the way that this song combines those more like traditional, more ballady elements with Jerry singing, and then you have the more rap part of Aliona. I love the way that they sound together. Everything about this is just perfect. And I'm also so excited for Jerry Heil to be back in Vidbir again and trying to represent Ukraine again. Yes, she's been to Eurovision before and she's already like such a famous artist from Ukraine. But honestly, I'm down to see more. I'm really, really down. Also, I'm just gonna say this. The number one thing about this entry for me is the reaction of the crowd when they realized that Ukraine had passed Israel in the scoreboard after that televote score dropped. That was all of us in that moment. They were so happy, and I mean, rightfully so. If this edition ended with another Ukrainian victory, I think all of us would have been content, because Tereza Maria is just insane. Ukraine places 8th, and we move on to this year's People's Princess. Loved this song. I always enjoyed it. The moment it dropped in Dora as like one of the backups, I was immediately like, oh, hello. And then it just continued to be such a grower throughout the season. You know, many people doubted Baby Lasagna's performance skills, but he proved them wrong. And he ended up winning the televote, rightfully so, with such an incredible song that also has a very, very good message. Since Baby Lasagna performed in Malmo and got that second place, I actually got to see him live, and I can confirm Rim Tim Tagidim goes so hard live, and I'm assuming that's one of the reasons why everybody in the Malmo arena was dancing along with him. I adore the staging. There's so much personality in it. I love the striking colors with these more traditional Croatian elements. I love the styling on Baby Lasagna specifically. I love his makeup too, the little like cat ears in the brows he has. I love the projections of these like animals dancing in the background. That fucking cat, like every single time I'm reminded of that dancing cat on the LED, I'm like, okay, this is so funny. This is so cool. Baby Lasagna also improved so much as a performer throughout the season. You know, that performance in Dora, admittedly, very, very shaky. But he went to Eurovision a few months later, and that's a rock star. That's not the same person we saw in Dora. He gained so much confidence and so much skill as a performer. And as a result, this ended up being Croatia's best placing entry in their history in the contest. I mean, excluding their time as, you know, part of Yugoslavia. But that doesn't really matter, right? Like, Yugoslavia doesn't exist anymore. So this is Croatia's best result. And I mean, rightfully so. He deserves to be that. Like, I was fully on the Croatia win train around this season. I wanted Croatia to win so badly. I wanted that first time win for them. Unfortunately, it did not happen. But had it happened, it would have been so deserved. And I'm so happy that he's been so successful post-contest as well. Croatia places 10th in my ranking. And we can move on to the champion of Eurovision 2024. First of all, the staging for the code was crazy. Like, I still don't really understand the physics of how that spinning thing worked, because at one part of the performance, it's standing still and Nemo is like spinning on it around and it's not flopping around. But then in other parts of the performance, Nemo just fully like uses it to like flop to other sides. Like, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's like, how does that work? I'm assuming some people have already figured it out. I'm assuming there's some backstage content that I probably haven't seen that explains it, but my little small brain cannot compute how this is even possible. Like, to me, this is like breaking the laws of physics. Performing on something like this too, I'd be terrified. So Nemo gets bonus points for that because they executed so well. This song was always on to do well with the juries. And I think everybody was sort of surprised by how well it did with the juries, like how hard it dominated. But honestly, listen, performing on something like this with that perfect of a vocal, like give them their chance. That song is just so cool to me. Like the production of it is one of the best of the year. The lyrics of it are so well done, so poignant. They present the story so well. And I think it's such a clear message to send and such a important message to send as well. I think, especially in this like day and age, having Nemo as a winner and being a proud non-binary person is so important. You know, queer people are being erased in so many different places. I mean, just look at what's happening over the pond in the America. It's so depressing, but at the same time, it's nice to have people like Nemo in the limelight, winning such prolific events and providing that representation. And also their song being just fully about their gender identity and them coming to terms with being queer is so cool to hear. I mean, especially like as a fellow queer person, I appreciate this message so much. And I think this win was really monumental and means a lot to a lot of people. This is such a deserving winner. And honestly, everything about it is perfect to me. I was never disappointed by this winning, never once. It was such a great winner. And I think Nemo also post-contest has one of the best catalogs of any Eurovision winner, really. That debut album they dropped a few weeks ago is so good. There are like 2 songs on it that I'm not vibing with, but the rest are perfect. And the singles run for this, like you had Casanova, Eurostar, Unexplainable, Hocus Pocus, like it's insane. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm actually seeing them live very soon. By the time this video goes up, I think it's gonna be either Saturday or Sunday. I'm going to see them on Monday, December 1st in Poznań during their concert. Also, Luna is opening for them, so I'm very excited to see her as well. Yeah, I'm gonna be having a lot of fun on that concert, I'm assuming. I'm probably gonna post some videos from it on my TikTok, so go and follow me there. But yeah, it's gonna be really fun. And also, if you see me at that show, come and say hi. I don't bite. Switzerland places 9th in my ranking, and yeah, I think this is a good ranking. I did what I could. I think some people are gonna be pretty upset about it in places. I mean, especially I think Norway has a lot of haters for practically no reason, but hopefully it's good. If you have any objections towards it, leave them in the comments. Leave your own rankings. I would love to read them. Leave your own opinions about the entries. And yeah, I'm gonna be seeing you next week for another Eurovision video, actually. Well, Eurovision related, not technically Eurovision video, but like it's somewhere in that realm. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm planning to do for next week. I think it's going to be a very exciting video, actually. So I cannot wait to share it with you. And also, we are approaching December, and I have so many cool videos that I want to do in December. But also, if you have any ideas of something that you would like to see from me, please leave them in the comments below. I'm also going to be creating a Google Forms pretty soon to like have you guys insert your video ideas if you want to see any from me, because you know December is the time of giving, it's Christmas, and I would love to do some like fan favorite suggestions. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm open to doing. And yeah, just in general, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking around this long. I'm assuming that this video is like 2 hours long. But thank you for making it till the end. I love you so much. Have a great day, and I will see you in a week's time. Bye.